Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, October 21st, 2019. It's 6:30 p.m. It is time for the Selectmen's meeting, and the first order of business, as always, we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Chairman Sullivan is absent tonight. Next up on the agenda is the acceptance of minutes of October 7th, 2019.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of October 7th, 2019.
Motion by Mr. Johnson.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Siganovich. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Next up are public comments, citizens' comments. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on anything that is not currently on tonight's agenda? Seeing none. All that. Next up, we have a couple of appointments tonight. I want to call up Chief Wayner. We have a... What's that? Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't hear about that. Thank you, Chief. Well, we still...
Can we make a note in the minutes to that effect, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Yep, thank you, Mr. Joseph. All right, next up is Jason Russo of the Economic Development Committee, with the term to expire June 30th, 2022. Is Jason here? Come on up.
Set?
Yeah, have a seat. Just state your name, where you live, and...
Jason Russo. I live at 1 Britley's Way,
Mhm.
Dudley, Mass.
Okay, thanks for coming forward. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in the role?
Sure. So I was approached by the Webster Dudley Business Alliance that there was some need for some help on the Economic Development Committee, and I reached out, and they reached back to me and asked me to come to a few meetings. I've spoken to all the members, and they all agree that we make a great team.
Good. I'm glad you came forward. Board members, anybody have any?
Yeah, you said that in your letter, you're a business
Yep.
owner.
Yep.
And that is?
Pro Automotive.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So maybe we can also have Mr. Joseph, him come in to talk about...
He can do that, can't he?
You can. And I'll vouch for him. I've been using his business forever. Well, not forever, but both myself and my kids. Good stuff. Good guy, good people.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. I mean that. Glad to have you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson, anything you have?
Thank you for volunteering. Obviously, people like yourself don't step forward. You know, the work doesn't get done. There's plenty of work to do. Thank you.
And I'll say, Mr. Ruda, anything to add?
I'm good, Mr.
Good,
Chairman.
thanks. Yeah, and I'll add, just that's one of those committees that we started, 7, 8 years ago, and we just, always need some new members, business owners in particular, like to, move Dudley's business interests forward, and, so I'm happy that you're here. I know, I like your auto store. My girlfriend uses you, so. Okay, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Jason Russo to the Economic Development Committee with a term to expire June 30th, 2022.
Motion by Mr. Siganovich,
Second.
second by Mr. Joseph. Any other discussion? Al, anything to add?
I like Pro Automotive.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, you heard it. Al likes Pro Automotive.
yeah, great place.
All right, thanks, Al. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Hey, thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. All right.
Well, hopefully for just scheduled stuff. Hopefully nothing breaks.
Yes, yes. Knock on wood. We don't have any resignations tonight. Number 6, around town, we don't have any of that. Maybe soon. Jason can talk about that. Departmental communication, we'll do that early in the agenda. Chief? Go right to left.
Just this weekend is our drug take-back day again on Saturday, starting from 9 to 1. I'll be going up to Joshua Place probably on Thursday and collecting anything up there, but if anybody has anything to bring by, we'll be collecting it down here from 9 to 1 on Saturday.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Well,
Could we, Mr. Chief is here, Could we pick up item 10A also?
Item 10A. Yeah, we could do that while you're here, out of order.
Oh, sure.
Save you a trip up to
Yep.
the table.
Um,
So just for everybody's at home, it's item 10A. It's a request for a no parking zone on Warsaw Ave. Chief.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've been getting a lot of complaints about this area. It's actually at the rise of, on top of Warsaw Ave. There's some condos up there, and the road is kind of narrow, but what it also is it's like a blind spot. And we've tried working with the neighbors that are there, but there still is some issues with people parking out there on the street. And one of the problems comes up when vehicles parked on either side of the road there at the rise. When a car comes in the opposite direction, they'll have to either go into the opposite lane, or they're in danger of a vehicle coming into the opposite lane over the blind hill. So I met with the highway superintendent, and we've gone over the area, discussed it with the administrator. And so there's an area in there where we would designate it no parking on both sides of the road for about 150 feet, probably, thereabouts, give or take. So it's about a 150-foot spot just at the rise in the road. And it'll just prevent those situations from occurring. There have been a couple of close calls up there, so it's just something we'd like to take care of.
Yeah, I walked it today, so I totally get it. Are we gonna put signs, or how are you
Yeah, I
gonna?
believe there's 6 signs, 3 on each side of the road, just at the top. Or maybe it was 8 signs, I forget. We marked it out already.
More
6,
than one,
6,
less than 10.
Exactly. 3 on each side or 4 on each side, I forget exactly what it worked out to be.
Okay.
Well, my question is that you are right, we normally hold a public hearing, and how do we justify not holding a public hearing on this particular issue?
I was trying to think while you were talking about other things we've done like that. If everybody remembers back to the summer of 12 with the speed bumps on
Oh,
Allen
yes.
Drive. I think we ended up holding a public hearing, but what's standard operating procedure like for something like this?
I thought in some cases they would advertise it as a public hearing, but I think it's up to the board however you want to do it. If you wanted to tentatively do it and approve it at your next meeting, and that way give people an opportunity for a week to provide any feedback to the board, you could do that. There's no meeting before the town meeting on Monday, so we could vote to approve it then, or just put it out for any feedback right now and see if you get anything in the next week or so.
Carrie?
What did we do about on Village Street with Dippin' Donuts? Was there a hearing for that, or was it something that we just voted on and went with?
It's a good
I'm
one.
just trying to use that as a benchmark with what Mr. Joseph said. I don't want to do something different than what we did there.
If I recall, the no parking was an immediate safety factor, and there were no residences where the no parking was allowed. The entrance was on West Main and then further down. But this one here may affect some residents, and I just think we ought to give them the opportunity to voice their opinion in case they have something that would affect the final outcome.
I think that's
Mr. Johnson?
I think that's fair.
I'm fine with that. I just want to do the same, consistency, that's all.
I agree. Yeah, so, town administrator, maybe we can add that to the agenda as a public hearing?
Well, yeah, if someone makes a motion to table which is not discussable, and we approve it, then it automatically is on our next agenda, automatically.
We'll have to add a public hearing, Mr. Chairman, as
Is
well
that
as
what-
bring this item
Is
back
that
up.
what we're asking for?
And that's the board's decision. I just think at the very least, we need to give people the opportunity to have input if they are going to be impacted.
What if we sent letters? Have we sent letters, or have we done anything like that? This one
Well,
actually
we'd
has-
have to post the public hearing.
Same thing, right? Okay. Okay.
And I think too, I'm not sure if you want to tie up the business before the town meeting, because you usually have a lot going on there, and don't wanna-
November 4th agenda is, we're getting a presentation for the compensation study. So that's gonna be, we could put it on for that prior to the study, to the presentation.
And I think it would only be for the purposes of any feedback from any neighbors or anything like that at that point. Could be very limited. If you get some feedback, fine. If you don't, you can just approve it from there.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, that's okay. I can't imagine we'll have a ton of if anybody really talking about it, but at least give people the opportunity to do that. Do that.
Yeah.
Well, since we're talking about, I mean, I had another resident call me about Schofield Ave.
Public hearing on the.
Double yellow line, and people park on one side, and people think it's just totally okay to go over the yellow line to,
Whereabouts was that parked again now? Was that
Yeah.
the bus or something that's down there?
about there's cars too, apparently, coming from West Main towards Connecticut, right before the library. They usually park on that right side, so people are going over the yellow line. I've seen it.
Yeah, what we had done at one point when
Yeah.
we were there as the town hall and the police station, we had moved back parking over in that area.
Yeah.
And then I specifically can remember when we left to come here, it was voted to restore the parking in that area again for the residents of that location, because at that point, the library was, it was a entrance only at that point for the library. So the big concern before was when people were exiting, they couldn't see past the parked vehicles, but now it was only a one-way entrance. The board voted at that time to expand the parking basically right down to the driveway, so.
Yeah, I've asked you about it before, but someone else asked me recently, and this triggered my mind.
Yeah.
So maybe one of your letters in the paper or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of those
Yeah.
interesting areas too, because even like the funeral parlor, when they have big funerals, they utilize that spot, and a lot of the residents over there do, because you have a couple of the apartment buildings that are rather large.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of off-street parking there. I don't know if they're parking in the library lot like they used to park in the old town hall lot. I'm not sure, but, yeah, we can try to address it.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to bring it up.
So November 4th, you want to put this for?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, my recommendation would be to vote to post the public hearing for November 4th, and then post it for a vote after that.
Board members?
I'm okay. You
Motion
want a
by,
motion to that effect?
Yes.
So moved.
motion by Mr. Joseph. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion? None, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, chief. We'll get that addressed. Vinnie, you have anything else? Well, right to left. Yeah, I did say right to left. Dean, sorry. He was up there, so
I just wanted to say, I thought Saturday went really well. It was a great day. We had a great turnout, great weather. The whole fire department was very pleased. All my guys worked hard. I thought it was an overall good day. I did forget to thank one person that I wanted to thank, and that was Rob Roma. He allowed us to park on his property for the entire construction period. All our personal vehicles, all the construction vehicles, so I just wanted to make sure I thanked him, because that was huge, and we used a good chunk of his property during that 18-month period, so I just wanted to make sure I thanked him. But other than that, I just wanted to say I thought it was great. It was great to see all you guys there. It was a good day.
great day. Well,
Yeah, can we comment?
I was gonna do that during our time, but let's do it now.
You know, what a beautiful facility, a great turnout. Everyone was just amazed, happy, and really impressed. And I'm in a wheelchair. I didn't go anywhere. I just sat there, and people came up and talked about it. But the response from non-fire people, non-town officials, was absolutely heartening. And it was a wise expenditure. It was so well done. And you and the building committee deserve our respect and our admiration for producing what you did at a reasonable and effective cost. And I want to thank you all.
So, Mr. Joseph, Mr. Johnson? Else? Carrie?
What Mr. Joseph said, I'm seeing in the newspaper, a new station is going for 3-4 times as much. I mean, you did it the Dudley way. You did it cheap, and I mean, it looks great inside. And it was clean. It was nice. It wasn't. Yeah, it was good.
Jonathan, anything to add?
No, I mean, I agree, but it was a perfect example of the community and the, and town government working together and effectively communicating the needs and listening and coming up with a plan that everybody was in favor of.
Yep.
So, I mean, it was a textbook case of that, and I hope going forward, that's the model that we follow.
That's a really good point. You know, when we ask for something, it's only when we really need it, and this was when something was really needed, and the theme, I stayed for the whole event, and I heard, you know, a lot of people who I know were skeptical at the beginning, were just, wow, this is such, we're so glad we did this. This is gonna, you know, we're proud. I was proud all day. I'm always proud when I see that. You know, this is gonna be great for residents and businesses looking to come in. They're gonna see that we're building infrastructure, and it's just like to Jonathan's point, the model of like when we really need something to ask and look, how can we do this in a fiscally, you know, conservative manner that fits the Dudley model. And I think there was a lot of some people there from other towns that were a little jealous, to be honest. So, Dean, that's you saw your vision come true, and it was great to see everybody there. So
And the
thank you.
finish on that floor was a stroke of brilliance.
Oh,
To
the
not
concrete,
have
yeah.
porous concrete
Yeah.
that would pick up stains and then have to be, you know, refinished or whatever. Absolute stroke of genius. All it takes is a mop and it's clean, and that was just amazing. Very impressive.
And the fans, those big fans, I thought those were pretty neat too. So, thanks,
And
Dean.
Charter TV3 was there today. They did a nice piece on it.
Oh,
It was
good.
on at 6 o'clock. I think they replayed at 10. So,
Pretty neat.
good
And-
team effort, though. Everybody pitched in. You know, most importantly, the citizens of Dudley, but the building committee, your board, the other boards, the department. So it all worked out well.
And if people still want to see it, if they missed it, can they still?
They can come anytime they want.
Okay. Yeah. I was very impressed how spacious and, you know, it'll fit our needs for a long time, so. good.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dean. Appreciate it. George? No. Did Vinnie have anything else? All right. Okay. Town Administrator's Report, Jonathan?
Good evening. I'll make it short and sweet. Following an email I sent out to the board early in the week, I'm happy to announce that the town hall is now completely and totally equipped with public internet, complete Wi-Fi access at a speed of about 100 megs, and if you're not a turbo nerd like me, I'll just tell you that that's pretty quick.
Nice.
So throughout the building, we're going to put up some signs that allow the public to come in and when they want to connect to our Wi-Fi, they'll have their password and their username, and we should be good to go. And I thank the town accountant for the help that she was with organizing this project, and certainly the cable coordinator, Ted Barron, for bearing with me throughout the entire project. The Spooktacular is scheduled for October 24th. That includes the parade and the activities, the Halloween activities for the kids. I've made a decision to close the town hall at 4:30 on October 24th. Those who are going home, those staff that are not going to stay to participate and help, will be asked to use their earned time to cover the absence. Those who are going to stay will be allowed to remain on the clock. Road betterment. It's getting to be that time of year. The highway superintendent has provided me with a list of town-owned private roads, and she doesn't know it yet, but Michelle and I will be working with the assessor to provide all abutters with information on the road betterment program and how to take advantage of it. Vinnie and I have had several conversations, and we're getting to the point now where it's time to act on some of these roads and issues.
To that point, Jonathan,
They are coming in.
Okay,
There's plenty of, the entire matter is under legal review, and I can brief the board at some more appropriate point, but
perfect.
that has not been dropped. As a matter of fact, I talked to her last week.
Okay, thanks. It's that time of year. That's
Yeah.
what made me think of it. Right.
I'm going to ask that we, we'll talk about that in another agenda.
Got it.
So, here's some bad news. For our compensation study, which we have two firms coming in, one on November 4th to give us a proposal, one on November 18th to give us a proposal. The grant funding that I intended to use for that, we are not going to be eligible to apply for, and it's because when we were awarded the grant funding in 2017, the project had to have been completed in 1 year in order to be eligible for 2019. You can't have it back to back, so the fact that we had it stalled and then revamped it, got it going again, and just completed it last week, essentially, we now have to wait an additional 12 months before we're eligible for any more grant funding through that program, but I've got a couple of other ideas, and I think we'll be okay if the board decides to move forward on that. Finally, the WGL solar credits that I've railed about a few times. Another kudos to the town accountant who's worked with the business manager for the regional school district, and I think we're going to be able to sell off some of our surplus solar credits to the schools. We're working on getting an agreement together with town council between us and the schools, and that'll be step one. Step two will be to renegotiate the contract for a more sensible deal that works for the town. So that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Town Administrator. Mr.
On
Joseph?
on the credits that you get, I'm assuming the credits is in kilowatt hours. Is that correct?
There's a monetary amount assigned to the credits, but yes. But there is also a monetary amount, the value of the credits.
Do we know what the kilowatt hour rate is that we're getting credit for?
We do,
Or is
but,
that something you need
we
to?
do, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. It'd be good to know that.
Yep.
If you can share it at some point, that's all.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Town Administrator, is there any project tracking that can be implemented? It sounds like you're consistently finding open-ended or expired projects from the last 4 to 8 years, and it begs for project management and, you know, just a list of things and a Gantt chart with times and with dates and milestones.
So that's
Steps.
something that this board, I'm
Owners.
glad, approved ClearGov for, because, I mean, it's not an internal Gantt chart, I mean, but we have the ability to show the project management schedule and post it not only so the board sees it or the internal stakeholders see it, but we can post it so the public sees it, to see how well we're progressing. And that's financial tracking, timeline tracking, all the deliverables that you could track on a Gantt chart, we could actually put online within reason.
Sure, but once again, it's, if you don't put it in, it's not gonna be tracked, right? So
Correct.
we have a commitment that
Correct.
we're
But
gonna use it to its,
our major projects generally have some sort of printed project management schedule.
Good.
Whether or not, it's referred to consistently, I think, is the question.
not saying there isn't more 5, 10-year-old skeletons in the closet, but
Well,
when you
the
surface them, we get them into the project
the
plan.
water and sewer projects we're gonna be talking about are gonna be a perfect opportunity to showcase some of that ability.
Okay. Anything else for the Town Administrator? Okay, thank you, Mr. Town Administrator. Next up, under new business, we already did 10A. 10B, the Board of Health is asking for permission to use the Clarinda Wood Fund in the amount of $2,000 to pay Cheryl Rowinski for public nursing services provided during July to September 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by Mr. Sigenovich. Discussion? Hearing none, call that to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. And then item 10C, we have a reminder that Monday, October 28th, 2019, at 6 PM for the Board of Selectmen meeting, and then the town meeting at 7 PM is at Shepherd Hill. So please, please, please come and get involved. We always say that everything is run by those who show up, and it's important that, people come and be heard if they have something to say on an issue. Okay? Thanks. All right, moving on to section 11, which is old business. So now we have the town meeting warrant article final review. Does So this says here, the Board of Selectmen will review each article and pose questions that may, excuse me, may require substantive research or legal opinion, clarification, or study for October 28th Board of Selectmen meeting prior to the town meeting. Board meet?
Mr. Chairman? I really like the way this is done
Yes.
with the article in bold,
Yep.
the FAA recommendation in red, and then if there is to be a motion, what the motion will be.
Yep.
So my question is this available online as we see it here to the general public? And if not, can it be, so that we don't end up having to read the whole thing, because I know the warrant has already been posted. All right?
So we're happy to put it online, Mr. Joseph, and I just wanted to give the board first crack at it.
Yep.
And the FAA are gonna meet one more time tomorrow and take a final vote. But we anticipate that this will be, based on our last meeting, what their votes will be.
So the reason I ask that is, I know that next Monday, that we will vote on, we'll take our position on each of the warrant articles. But if this is already published, and if this will be published, then we can dispense with having to read the entire article and simply see if we have objection to them now, and then when we take our final vote before the town hall meeting, then we can take our votes in as we normally do.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Joseph. I was actually gonna hope that we would go through and do our holds tonight, if there were any questions on the articles, and actually vote tonight, unless there was some reason why we...
Fine?
Yeah, I think let's do that, just in case, over here, I know the chairman isn't here. If, he's here on Monday, then he can.
So there are three things, Mr. Chairman, that I want to
Right.
bring to the board's attention before we, if it's all right with you, before we go through each, and we put a hold on it. Or we can wait till we get to them, it's up to you.
Okay, what we usually do is, for those at home and in the audience, we usually just call out an article, and then someone will say hold, and then we can go back to them, or address it at that time if it makes more sense. The town moderator is here. Chris, you want to come on up, and just in case there's anything you want to add? Yeah, that's fine, whatever. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Okay, so Article 1. Article 2. Article 3, that's the budget. No? Okay. Article 4. Police cruiser purchase. Article 5, street sweeper purchase. Article 6, guardrail replacement on Charlton Road. Article 7,
Hold?
hold on Article 7. Is it a lot of discussion or just a?
No.
Okay, let's address it now then.
So I just want to make sure that all the members of the board got my breakdown of the return on investment for the waste oil heater.
Mhm.
So, still
9
the
months?
22 months.
22 months.
22 months.
So just so the public's aware, we did a breakdown of the return on the investment for the heater, and it worked out to be about 22 months. So that was it, Mr. Chairman.
That's fair.
Did we have to get 3 quotes and everything for that, or
It didn't meet the threshold.
didn't meet the threshold? Got it. Okay, thank you. Article 8, firefighter gear. Article 9, fire department. Article 10, also fire department. Article 11, MIS director. Article 12, the treasurer and collector. Article 13, also treasurer and collector. Article 14, also treasurer and collector. Article 15, one more for the treasurer collector. Article 16, conservation. Article 17, board of assessors. Article 18, water sewer. Article 19, water sewer. Big motions there. Article 20, Water Sewer. Article 21, Water Department. Article 22, Board of Selectmen. Article 23, Board of Selectmen. Article 24, Board of Selectmen. Article 25, Board of Selectmen, unpaid bills. Article 26,
Old, Mr. Chairman.
hold on 26. Okay, what's this one, Jay?
At our joint FAA Board of Selectmen meeting, I was asked to get an opinion from town council relative to the lawfulness of this article and the intent of the article. The intent of the article is to authorize the Board of Selectmen to negotiate and enter into an agreement for payment in lieu of taxes, period. That's, the ruling was it is lawful, and that is the intent of the article, not to come back to town meeting. So, in speaking with the chairman of the FAA, he may actually move or add the wording to, actually, he's not gonna make the motion on this. So it's the purview of the Board of Selectmen to specify in the motion that it will not go, it will not come back to town meeting, or to let it go as written. And it was a matter of transparency, I think, was the issue, Mr. Chairman.
197 Oxford Road. Okay. And that's, just while we're talking about it, that's been the last several town meetings have been kind of all about solar stuff. Is this in the right district and everything?
Oh, yeah, it meets all the criteria,
Okay.
and it received a,
All right, so,
it received a special permit before the zoning change.
okay. That's good to know, Mr. Moderator, in case that comes up. Vinnie?
The clarification on Oxford Road.
197, Mr. Town Administrator?
Should be Oxford Ave, you're correct.
Oh,
We
all
can
right.
fix that.
Scrivener? Okay, good call, Vinnie.
Huh?
Thank you.
Oh, did it?
Any other questions on Article 26?
I'm
Carrie?
gonna research that, Mr. Chairman, because it may actually be called Oxford Ave, but it may be written in the assessor's office as Oxford Road.
Oh, okay, so it's got to match?
Yeah, we'll double check it though.
Did you catch that?
Even though we call it Oxford Ave, it may be written up in the assessor's office by the parcel Oxford Road, so we're gonna we'll make sure that when the article is presented, it's presented correctly.
The only reason I say that, I was doing some research on a tree on Dudley Oxford.
Have them come up, please.
It's listed Oxford Road.
Oh,
I think we had two Oxford Roads
well, interesting. And thanks for looking into that tree. That was another resident call.
Okay, so we'll make sure that's squared away for
All
the
right.
town meeting. Yeah, we better-
Terry?
I know, Mr. Chairman, when I was on the FAA in the past, I know we had advocated for just negotiate and not enter into.
Correct.
So is that the way we're gonna do it, or are we gonna do it negotiate and enter into?
The way
reason
this is
why-
written is, it gives this is the town meeting authorized the Board of Selectmen to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement, not to have a second bite of the apple at town meeting.
I'd just rather we did it the other way that we've done it previously, where we just negotiated, and then we have another town meeting where we enter into it. That's just my opinion. If the board doesn't see it the same way, that's fine, I'll respect that, but.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure the FAA would want it just negotiate. I know Mr. Mayotte had done a lot of research into, solar facilities. I remember one meeting, he had a book that looked like War and Peace. But that's all, however the board wants to do it, but that's the way I'd prefer it.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
nothing against you, Mr. Town Administrator, that's just past precedent.
Any other discussion on Article 26? Thank you. Okay, move on to Article 27, Town Administrator. Article 28, Town Administrator Stormwater Management Account. Article 29, Town Administrator Bylaws. Article 30, Personnel
We,
Board.
Can we just make a note
Which one, Paul?
that Section 9 of this one is a new section, is that correct?
Which one are we on, Mr. Chairman?
29, this the town administrator bylaw with item 9 in bold. That was the addition.
The addition is in bold, correct.
And the rest are all what is currently in the job
Unchanged, correct.
description?
Yes.
Okay.
It essentially gives me authority to approve bills.
That'll be good. All right. Personnel Board, Article 30.
And once again, when they see this online, that the bold and the cross-outs are the only changes.
Right. Article 31, Highway Department. This about trees. Trees have been coming up a lot lately.
That's what they do, they grow.
They do, and they fall. Article 32, petition article by the Historical Commission about historic records. Comes up every time. And Article 33, the town
Bold.
add the stabilization funds. Okay, so that's the, is that the last one? Yep, so that's the last one. Jonathan, start with stabilization.
Two things, Mr. Chairman. You'll notice that we've added 75,000 or such other sum, and 110,000, 0 cents or such other sum. In checking with town council, that gives us the ability, when it's moved, to enter a like amount in both of those sections. And we did that intentionally because we didn't know what our certified free cash number was, and as anticipated, it was larger than we thought. So I'd like to, and I've spoken to the moderator about that, and he didn't seem to object to that change on the, when the article is moved. So I'd like to propose that we add to,
How much to stabilization?
so I'd like to change it from 75 to 100, and I'd like to change capital stabilization to from 110 to 150.
150?
Correct.
Is there any way we can increase stabilization by more than that?
Yes.
Could we please do that? I mean, that's our savings account. And
I'm happy to do that. My recommendation would be that we do it at the end of the year, and when we have the Springtown meeting, just to make sure we don't have to carry over a snow and ice balance or anything like that before.
okay, and we've shared these thoughts, but it's important that, number one, what we have in stabilization free cash determines our bond rating. And it's been a while since we've had the opportunity to increase the stabilization substantially.
So the capital stabilization fund also increases our bond rating because it's a stabilization fund.
It does. My concern is that if we don't put it in there and waiting to the end of the fiscal year is another, how many months? 9, 8, 7, 6, whatever?
One of those numbers.
It's in there somewhere.
9-ish.
I don't want people to think that that money then becomes available to spend. Because by nature, when we see money, or people see money, they want to spend it. And I don't want us to be in that position. So I'm hoping that we hold the line and that the surplus that we did get in available cash, certified available cash, is held as strongly as possible to make the amount that we put in at the end of the fiscal year at the May meeting as high as possible.
Mr. Chairman, can I pass the Excel spreadsheet around?
Sure.
Maybe the board would like to adjust that.
Is there one for everybody?
You should.
It's a good time to talk about it. Okay, go ahead, Jonathan.
Our free cash balance will,
Can I ask a question before you
Sure.
start, though? Have we ever had anything in capital stabilization before?
we had $500 in it.
A whopping 500, okay. And what's the use of a capital stabilization for people at home?
Capital stabilization is the source of funding for capital improvement projects, capital assets.
So if something breaks and we don't have to wait, we can meet and determine that we could, town treasurer and collector has joined us as we're talking.
Presented the chat.
So my proposal right now doubles our stabilization fund and adds $150,000 to capital stabilization. It leaves us a $97,000 balance in free cash. Will apply towards snow, ice, end of year, unpaid bills, that sort of thing, or anything else that might come
So
up.
97,590 is the,
Correct.
okay. Mr. Treasurer Collector, anything to add to that, or?
We first used the capital stabilization when the ambulance got crashed. We had proceeds, we needed to put it somewhere, town meeting put it in so that we could pull it out, make payments for the replacement ambulance. It's a placeholder, whether you've designated the funds through a town meeting vote or you have the money there in anticipation of. It's held in reserve, so it's not going to go to something non-capital. That sounds right. If I could make a comment about a bond rating, we pulled money out. We got a bond rating in February or March. We pulled money out, and our bond rating remained the same. So that's an interesting thing. I think it's a management all around. It's not what you have in the savings. Obviously, your $600,000 in free cash is indicative of how well the ship is run. The finance at home is very similar to the finance in the town of Dudley. If you get paid $100 every week, you shouldn't have plans for 102. You should have plans for 90. And put that extra 10 away. I know I sound like everybody's parent as soon as you get your first
You
job,
really
but that's
do.
the idea. At one point, somebody bought the bonds for the fire station, and they looked at it and they said, the town of Dudley is run very well. Here is the rating. I think everything really hinges on the undesignated fund balance, which is what we don't spend coupled with our stabilization. If you want to be an accountant for it, it's an easier definition. Every dollar that can go in there is thumbs up, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thanks, Rich.
More the
Mr.
better.
Joseph?
Okay, are you saying that when a bond rating is issued, Rich, that the bond company does not look at what you have in unallocated funds? Meaning stabilization, unallocated capital outlay?
No,
And
they've
free
got
cash?
5 or 6 areas, and they run a metric on everything.
So
The
they
way
do look at that then?
they do look at it, and
Okay.
it's given a weighted amount.
Okay. The other question I want to remind people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The other thing I want to remind people of is that when we decide to finally sell off surplus properties that we may own, that are declared surplus, that I remind the board that the policy is that 60% of the proceeds, net proceeds, in case, because we have to often pay the auctioneer, that 60% go into stabilization and 40% goes into capital outlay. Does that mean capital outlay stabilization fund, or no?
I don't recall the policy that you're talking about,
That is the
And-
policy.
and the auctioneer is the buyer's premium, so we wouldn't be paying anything from the winning bid.
Right.
I think we meant, I know what you're talking about, Paul. We always said 60%, you know.
But
The-
they,
the
but they
capital
won't allow
improvement
you to
fund, though.
allocate funds for a tax title sale in the year you've done it.
Okay.
You can't go through and certify
the one-time revenue to the Department of Revenue. The practice ended.
What practice
So
ended?
we'd have to vote at a
The
town meeting.
Department
where it
of
goes?
Revenue,
No,
the-
what practice ended?
the practice ended that allowed the DOR to certify the sale of a tax titled property as an additional funding source for use in that year. I don't believe that
Okay.
that
Fine, but
continues.
as long as we keep that 60/40, that was the intent, unless this board chooses to vote otherwise.
That was what we always said. I don't remember capital improvement stabilization. It was just
No,
capital,
not- that's-
capital improvement.
Well, as Rich said, that's recent only with the ambulance.
We adopted it 2 years ago, maybe, for a capital.
Right. Do we still have a capital outlay fund?
We have a capital stabilization.
That's what it's called now.
Capital stabilization.
I've never read
At the spring town meeting, the body took $51,000 or whatever it was there for the purpose of paying the ambulance or the lion's share of this year's upcoming payment for the ambulance.
Okay,
It's a placeholder.
okay, thank you.
Terry?
Mr. Joseph, something you said about that, the 60-40 split, and I've heard other things like that. Do we keep this somewhere? Because, I mean, 10, 20 years from now, we might not be here. Or is this just something
Well,
that we...
That's why it had to be put into the minutes of one
Okay,
of our meetings.
okay. So that's where it's memorialized, is in the
Yes.
minutes. We don't have a book on the shelf like Harry Potter or something where all this is written.
I don't think so.
Oh, I remember we did that, yeah.
Is that things we should do? What's this book called? You know,
I don't know, I'm just saying, like...
Current board policies.
If there's a policy that says we're gonna put 60% into there and 40% into somewhere else, I think it should be memorialized somewhere other than the minutes.
And
With
how,
everything else that we say we're gonna,
how would newer board members know any of this?
they wouldn't know it.
Where would we,
No,
yeah, that's a
well,
good
well-
idea, but where would we put it?
I don't know.
know of such a Harry Potter book, although I like the idea.
It's just an idea, because we're talking, I mean, Mr. Johnson said about having projects, state of completion listed somewhere where people could know. I mean, this is something people should know too.
Absolutely.
On the road, if it's something we're going to do and follow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Mr. Town Administrator, I have something I was just looking. The Historical Commission's petition article. The motion is to transfer the sum of $10,000 from free cash to approve this. And on the free cash spreadsheet, it looks like that's blank. And that, it's still included in this, correct?
Well, we're gonna refer it back to the petitioner, but that will take the free cash balance down by 10,000.
Okay.
obviously.
Right. I mean, I support that, so I saw that as a whole. Why, so the FAA didn't wanna, what would they, just they'll have the petitioners talk about it, or?
Well, I think it's just, we generally refer petition articles back to the petitioner.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Okay,
we're prepared for them, but I think generally we refer them back.
okay. Because sometimes we say pass it over, or not now, or it's not, we're not saying that here.
Well, we said it in the spring,
We did,
yeah.
we did, so okay, so I wanna make sure that we include that somehow. Cool, all right, thanks for clearing
Did we
that up.
decide, Mr. Chairman, what we're gonna do with the amounts on Article 33?
I mean, I think we go with your recommendations for now, that's what I would do.
Agreed.
Especially if we have to spend another 10 on the historical stuff.
So we'll hold at 150 and 100 then?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
no other objections? Yeah. Okay, yeah, then that gets all. Mr. Moderator, anything on this, anything you wanna call out?
No, I just, through the chair, I'd just like to remind the public to attend the town meeting so we can have a quorum for a prompt start, and we'll roll through the articles quickly.
Yes, Monday, right, okay. We always in that sweet spot of like 33 to 36 articles in my time here.
And if there's any 18-year-olds that are registered to vote, it'd probably be a good idea for them to start showing up at these things.
Indeed, yes.
We're looking at you, Al.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Al. You're
Yeah.
gonna round up some,
I know. I will, definitely. There's a few, there's a few.
okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, at
Mr.
your
Joseph?
request,
Yep.
I'm going to move that we approve the town meeting warrant articles as presented tonight.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Johnson. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Oh, you knew I was about to ask, I think, so.
So then we're good for the town
We
meeting?
are good.
Before the
So
town
we
meeting?
can,
for the
do that and-
Selectmen's meeting before the town meeting?
Correct. Cool.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris,
perfect.
for coming for that. All right, item 11B, Board of Selectmen, vote to establish two positions, clerk for planning, highway, and conservation, and clerk permitting, licensing, and code enforcement.
Mr. Chairman?
Ruda.
So, we had a chance to, well, first of all, I'm gonna ask if we, will not, I'd like to not take up item C and D. Wait a minute.
Okay. So we're just doing B?
Just do item B.
Okay.
Item C and D are very premature.
All right.
So, I had a chance to present both of these combined positions that we've spoken about before to the Personnel Board,
Okay.
and they approved them on 10/15/19. And what I'm asking for the Board of Selectmen to do is to approve both positions, not to hire into them, not to fund them yet, because I'd like to stick them into the queue for the salary survey.
Okay. So tonight, you just want a vote to establish the positions?
Correct. Not to fill them,
Okay,
not to fund them,
all right.
not to,
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we
Joseph?
approve in concept the two positions as requested by the town administrator, which are clerk, planning, highway, and conservation, and clerk, permitting, licensing, and code enforcement, with the caveat that any town department affected by these the establishment of these two positions is on board with the establishment of, and I speak specifically about the Conservation Department to make sure that they know they're gonna be losing their clerk. Their clerk, that person may end up getting hired into a position, but that's irrelevant. But just so long as all departments that are affected know about this and are on board with it. That's a courtesy we owe them.
Okay, motion by Mr. Joseph,
Sorry, question about that. Are you suggesting that the...
so second for discussion?
Oh, sorry.
Second,
I'm going to second it for discussion. I'd like to hear what Mr. Johnson had to say.
okay. Okay.
So, let's try to formulate the question correctly. Are we looking for an approval from these departments on making these changes?
It's not so much the approval as it is the courtesy of letting a department know that there may be a change in the clerk that they've been using for a period of time.
So it's two different things. The way you worded
Absolutely.
it the first time sounded like there was information and then on board with it. It's a nebulous term. I just wanted to clarify with you.
Point well taken. You know my intent.
No, that's why I asked the question.
Well, now you do. Now you do.
Now you,
Joan Gardecki, Personnel Board.
Joan.
I
thanks for
have a
coming.
question on the job description.
Okay.
Number one, it says approved by Dudley Planning Board at the bottom. Is that supposed to be the
Oh,
Personnel
it
Board?
should have been Personnel Board. My autocorrect on my mistake. We can certainly change that.
Where is
But
that?
the date is correct.
The auto mistake?
The auto mistake, right. Should have been Personnel Board.
But these two.
Also, the Personnel Board approved the draft with changes.
Those changes were added.
Mr. Ruda made most of the changes, but on number 11, if you notice, it says Planning, Highway, and Conservation Offices. And I would think that would be That's on the permitting, licensing, and code enforcement. I would think that should be on the planning, highway, and conservation job description.
Which one is it?
I'm
Good catch.
trying to find it. Where?
What she's saying is on, if,
Second page,
I don't mean to
number
speak
11.
for you, but I think I see what Mrs. Gardecki's
Oh, she's
pointing
looking
out.
at the other.
On the clerk permitting, licensing, and code
Oh,
code
you're,
enforcement.
okay, gotcha.
On number 11, there's a piece that speaks to the planning, highway, and conservation. The other job we have is planning, highway, and conservation. So it looks like number 11 should be on the other.
And the personnel board approved, it said general administrative clerical support to the building and appeals offices.
Where is that at?
That was in place of the planning, highway, and conservation.
Okay.
Question for Joan?
No, I'm good.
Joan, did the personnel board, as a courtesy, touch base with any of the departments that will be affected by the establishment of these two positions?
No, I believe Jonathan said that he had spoken to the departments.
No, I hadn't, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Let me tell you where I'm at. I'm gonna vote against this. Not because I don't think it's a good idea. But if you're gonna run town in an open way, you at least need to extend to those departments the courtesy of telling them what you're doing, so that they know it. Not an objection to the concept at all. That's why my motion was to approve the concept. But if these departments that will be affected have not been contacted as a courtesy, and this discussed with them, then I'll be forced to vote no on this particular request. I just don't think it's right. And I know it's probably a question of time. I know Jonathan's plate has been way more than full. And if he needs time to do that, then so be it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy, if you don't want to take a vote on it tonight, that's fine. My courtesy was extended to the board I worked for first. When you to give me the go-ahead on it, I'm happy to extend the courtesy to the other multiple departments that are affected, when the time comes to fund it, and when the time comes to hire into it.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. Mr. Johnson?
Change management's not something that's ever should be taken lightly, especially when there's people involved. So, as much as it concerns me that I agree with Mr. Joseph, this probably should be open, transparent communication between all parties. Most importantly, understanding, one, the problem we're trying to solve, two, the current state, which is where we are today, and then the potential future state, where we're trying to go to, and the problems that solves and how we're going to do it. So I think that all needs to be part of that communication. Just my 2 cents about change management.
Mr. Chairman, the only problem I'm trying to solve right now is to add 2 legitimate job descriptions into the salary survey, and nothing more. No hiring,
Yeah.
no rearranging, no restructuring, no reorganization, no salary approval.
But there's a reason why you want to put these 2 in. And that is to position us for a potential change.
Correct.
Right. So that's the change. It should be clear and transparent.
Would it be amenable, Mr. Chairman, would it be amenable to the town administrator if we table this to our next meeting, which is a week from now, to give him the time necessary to communicate with the departments in a transparent way? That's a question for the town administrator.
Kelly?
I believe the only department I haven't spoken to is conservation, so I'm happy to do that. I'm gonna communicate the thought process, I don't want to start a mass hysteria, because there's no reason for it at this point.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Gary?
Is this going, now I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but down, if we were to do this, to eliminate the positions and put these two in its place, there's two questions I have. One would be, is it going to make us more efficient? Is it going to help us better serve the town, the people? And secondly, is it going to save us any money, cost us any money, stay the same? That's just something when we come back, if you have that, that would be great.
Well, part of saving money, we need to get it into the salary survey queue, which is why I'm at step
Okay.
1.
So chicken or the egg?
Mr. Chairman, could I ask the town administrator to respond to my question? Would you be amenable to tabling this to next Monday?
It's fine with me. I don't have any problem with it.
Thank you.
Okay, board members?
I have a motion and a second. You've got to,
Oh, yeah.
Pull yours
Yeah,
back.
Yeah, what was the motion on the table, Mr. Joseph?
Well, the motion table requires,
No, you had another, we have a motion and a second on your first motion.
but do you want to
think
withdraw
he
the
made,
motion?
he made a motion to
In
approve it
concept.
with the
Whether there
incon,
are any town departments affected.
With the caveat, and then Mr. Johnson raised another good point. So I would withdraw my motion,
Okay, okay with
if
the
it's
second,
okay
Doc?
with the second.
I'm okay with that. What, are we going to table it, or are we going to change a motion? Or,
That's what I put to you guys.
I'm just, my thought is, Mr. Chairman, if we're just giving him kind of like a template to put into a salary survey, and there's no one being hired, no one's being changed, nothing's being changed, I don't see the harm in that. I see the, but I understand, we could wait a week. This isn't, something needs to be done by the end of this week, does it, Mr. Town
It's
Administrator?
a simple notification that we're looking at these combined positions like I made for the other departments, I would imagine, right? Nothing more, no debate, no... Right? Is that what I'm being asked to do?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
A
just
week
go
on
tell
that.
everybody the high level, why we want to do something like this, to make us more efficient. I think if you start at the high level, here's why, I mean, to his point, change management is, I mean, just the fact that, people took this seriously and made sure that there was, all the wording was proper and everything. I don't want everybody to, like you said, there shouldn't be any mass hysteria just yet, but,
There shouldn't be any at all.
no.
There will be. Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would ask is, when we do approve these and we send them through to be looked at and a salary assigned to these positions, we need to be a little tighter than in concept approval, because that
agree.
means that we'll pay to
agree.
have a review,
I agree.
and then we'll change it afterwards, and it will render the salary study that we paid for, a few $1,000s for each position, as useless.
Point
Good
well
point.
taken, that's why I withdrew the motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, so we agree we're gonna table this the next time, so you can go talk to the teams and, okay? And then we'll take it from there. I mean, these are probably, anything like to move us into the future, we need to look at everything, right? So, Joan, thanks for coming with those changes, appreciate that. All right, and are we tabling, or are we just not doing these yet?
Well,
Seeing-
without objection, we table it.
Well, the other two items, we don't need to come back up yet. We can just eliminate them altogether. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Are we tabling, or are we, until you put them on the
Until
agenda?
we put them
again?
back on.
Okay.
I'm not gonna go anywhere near those until we have,
Okay,
Well, you know what, they're on the agenda, so let me make a motion,
the parliamentary way,
yep,
go ahead.
that we take no action
Yep.
on items 10C and 10D.
Motion by Mr. Joseph,
So now it's in the record.
Second.
second by Mr. Johnson. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous, okay. So thank you. Did we already have 11?
Yeah.
11 was old business. We also have 11 as board member comments. Paul?
Nothing?
Okay.
Nothing.
Carrie?
Town meeting is next Monday. Please come. It's at Shepherd Hill. Please come. Thank you.
What time?
Also read that.
7 PM?
7 PM, but you can come early. We won't lock you out. You can come early. Someone will be at what time? We'll be there. Selectmen's meeting is at 6.
6.
So feel free to come. Should be good theater at least. That's it. Oh, and Mr. Marcy is giving me the Thursday, October 24th from 5 PM to 7 PM is Town of Dudley's second annual Spooktacular. At 5 PM, the spooky parade will start at the library. Wear your costume. The route is the library to the town hall. It'll be escorted by police. There'll be outdoor activities at the town hall. We're going to have an inflatable haunted house and a fire pit with s'mores. Indoors at the town hall will be wonderful hot dogs, cider, water, other treats, and crafts for kids. I wish my kids were little. I'd still bring them to this. Costume contest. Upload your picture to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and use the hashtag SpookDudley19. That's awesome. Prizes given for scariest costume, funniest costume, most unique costume, DIY costume, and family costumes. So if someone wants to come as the Munsters, go right ahead. This is co-sponsored by the Town of Dudley and the Pearl L. Crawford Memorial Library.
Thank you, Mr. Siganovich. That'll be fun. I always like to do things that bring families into the mix with the town. Just what? Yeah, and yeah, all I had was we already talked about it with the fire station dedication. Just extremely proud of Dudley right now that we have something so great. And yeah, he's coming up next. Mr. Salonis.
Hello, everybody.
Good representative.
Good evening.
Got a lot of words there.
Yeah, just a little bit. So, Shepherd Hills Show Choir Fantasy had a choreography weekend this weekend. They had Friday, Saturday, and I believe Sunday. They were doing their show and working on it. Band had a home show 2 weeks ago. We had 5 stars in every single category. Band scored an 83 in Somerset on Saturday, what was it, the 19th? Football lost against Wachusett, 35-14. They have Shrewsbury they're going to Shrewsbury, I should say, on Friday this week. So that has playoff contingency in that. So hopefully they win and they will be in the playoffs. But if they don't win that game, there's a few other factors.
They've got to play, the football team, Division 3, I think they are. They've got to play as tough a schedule in Central Mass as anybody.
Indeed.
All right, and Wachusett, I think, was rated number 3.
Yeah, and then Shrewsbury, I believe, is number 2.
Number 4 or number 2.
Something like that, yeah.
No, Doherty's 2.
St. John's.
St. John's, Doherty, Wachusett, Shrewsbury's right up there, and so aren't we.
Yeah. I believe they actually, I don't know why I wrote Shrewsbury. I think they're playing Doherty. I don't know.
Maybe it's going to
Is
be
that
one of those.
Shrewsbury.
Maybe it'll be a
Okay,
unique
okay.
three-way game.
Yeah. So, yes, they have Shrewsbury on Friday. Then there's Community Reading Day this week on Friday at DMS. I will be going down there with a bunch of my other colleagues to go read some books. So that's always fun. Then there's a mattress fundraiser on October 27th in the gym.
You want to tell people what a mattress fundraiser is?
And what it's for.
So, so what happens is there's a company that comes into the school and sets up a whole showroom, and they have a bunch of mattresses, top of the line. Everything's 50% off retail. We also have some coupons for you guys if you're all
thanks.
interested in mattresses.
How many can we take?
Take as many as you want.
How many mattresses do you need?
One per person.
And there's there's an additional 10%, I believe, for our first responders. So, Chief and Chief.
Do you have one of these flyers, gentlemen?
I will come down this week and give them to both of your offices.
For all the guys too, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Highway Department too.
Yep. Of course.
Public safety.
Of course. And there was cross country at a twilight meet on Friday the 18th. Volleyball had a Lindstrom Strong fundraiser for ovarian cancer a few weeks ago. That went really well. They raised a lot of money for that. Girls soccer had senior night last week. a bunch of seniors on the team. They said some words and had a great time. And there's also, from the Booster Club, there's a big collaboration to bring a new baseball and softball field to Shepherd Hill. I know you're, on
I'm
board
on
with
that
that.
committee as well.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to say a few things.
I can. I've asked a few people. I'm on sand, and a certain type of sand, and I'm working with the town administrator to try to see if we can, get some prices on that, as well as some other local vendors that might be able to have it.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in sponsoring that project, talk to Mr. Ruda, right? And Mr. Marzi.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's about it.
No.
No?
When is the next show choir concert that we can go to? Okay, that's your assignment
Yeah,
for next
I'll
meeting.
figure that out.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it.
Thank you, Al. Anybody have any other questions for Al? Okay.
I just
Jerry?
wanted to let Al do it, but I want to, congratulations to Matty Marsh, signed on with University of Massachusetts at Lowell.
Yes.
Just heard that.
Numerous high school, state, district records, wonderful young lady, as well as Skylar Peach, signed on to play lacrosse at Southern New Hampshire University. Both fabulous young women. My daughter has played soccer and everything with them, so I've seen them since they were little. Just great kids, couldn't be happier for them.
Oh yeah, great on the field and in the classroom, both of them. Really top of the line.
And my girlfriend's daughter, Victoria Payne, she has also signed on to play lacrosse at Westfield State, so,
Again, another
Yeah, we
top
have-
of the line athlete and student as well.
right? So we're very, we have some people playing sports in college, which I think is great,
Yeah,
student athletes.
yeah.
Vinnie, come on up. Good call.
I just got a comment on the mattress fundraiser. I think it's a great idea. But I'm a little concerned if you have any instructions for people to get rid of their old mattresses. Because we're constantly picking these up off the sides of the roads.
That, I believe, is their own responsibility. We just sell them. We're not, but I'm sure,
There's some kind of an instructional thing that you can do.
Yeah, I hope that they don't chuck them on the side of the road.
So they do.
Oh.
Check it out.
I'll look into that and get back.
Yeah,
For
I'll,
peace of mind,
yeah.
can you check and let the doctor know?
of course.
Well, let them know that there's recycling center will take them.
Yeah,
Webster's transfer station will take
Yeah.
them. At a fee, of course, but
yeah,
it's better than
Yeah.
throwing them on the side of the road.
yeah.
Our roads will not take them.
I could have sworn I saw something that there, on the bigger flyer that went out, but, yeah, let's check in on that.
Yeah, I will definitely, yeah, of course. I'll definitely look into that.
Thanks.
It's great watching everybody getting edgy in the seats, looking at the clock.
Yeah,
What
I
time's
know, it's not
kickoff?
lost
What
to me.
time's
We have some
kickoff?
other faces, new faces here. You guys have anything you want to add to discussion? No? Mr. Zakowski does. Come on up, Scott.
He said new faces.
I
He's a
said
ba-
new faces.
He's a baseball fan, not a football fan.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but Steve Sullivan usually does this, but he's not here tonight. But I just wanted to point out the fact that
Thank you, Scott.
the oldest resident in Dudley passed away last week. Elin Anderson was 102. I had the pleasure of being at her 100th birthday and was amazed. She used to do a thing in the town hall called Elinetics, which was aerobics with the seniors to try to keep them physically active. She was quite a woman, but she passed last week and was buried on Wednesday.
Thanks,
So
Scott.
I think so. I guess the hunt is on. Is who's the oldest person in Dudley?
It's not you?
No. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott.
It's not me.
Thank you.
Anything, anybody else while we're here, before we close up?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph.
I'm going to move that we add John.
Motion by Mr. Joseph, seconded by
I'll second it.
Second.
What are
Mr.
you guys
Johnson.
waiting
I know.
I heard add John.
Oh. Motion, seconded by Mr. Johnson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Good night.